Hey guys, Jenny here. Please excuse my voice. I have been getting over laryngitis. So my voice is not quite all the way back yet. But I am going to talk to you today about the keto flu or the low carb flu. It is a real thing, and it's the reason that you feel like shit when you stop eating sugar. Okay? So, first off, when you begin a restricted carb diet, a restricted carb way of eating, your body goes through withdrawals. And the withdrawals have a lot to do with losing water and losing electrolytes. And here's why. So when you're eating carbohydrates on a daily basis, your body is storing sugar. All right. So I'm just going to keep it really, really, really simple. All right. So when your body stores sugar, it needs water in order to do that. And it's actually like 1 part sugar to 3 parts water. All right. And that's what gets stored. So when you're eating restricted carbs and you're depriving your body of those constant stores, and when you actually begin to burn through those stores before your body begins burning through fat, you are releasing a ton of water at a 3-to-1 ratio. So that's why people who begin low carb diets say they feel really bad because they have headaches. What are the symptoms of dehydration? Dizziness, headaches, muscle cramps, like aches and pains, things like that. That is why, because a lot of it has to do with just dehydration and losing electrolytes. All right, it kind of makes sense. So if you are going to experience the keto flu, low carb flu, when are you going to do it? Usually, if your body is going to do this, go through like a huge withdrawal, and not everybody does, or not everybody experiences the symptoms as severely as other people. All right, so if you're going to do it, if your body is going to do like a bad detox, a bad withdrawal, it's going to be within your first 2 weeks of restricting your carbs, and it's going to last about 2 to 4 days. Okay, it's going to feel like you got hit by a truck if it's really, really bad. Seriously, it's like you have the flu. However, there are ways to beat it. And if you can't beat it entirely, there are ways to, at least lessen the severity of it. Okay, so I sort of touched on the symptoms. Like, what should you look for? When do you know that this is actually what it is, or if it's something else? So, fatigue and drowsiness, headaches, muscle cramps, lightheadedness, dizziness. Extreme cases will be nausea or like hypertension, like face problems, and things like that, or like skin problems in general. But like I said, those are super extreme cases. And all right, so if the keto flu or low carb flu is just sort of a result of dehydration and loss of electrolytes, obviously drink water. If you have access to mineral water, drink mineral water. That will help with just restoring those deficiencies that that your body is having because you're excreting so much water. And so like your kidneys are on like overdrive, and you just are excreting a lot of water that is on the inside, right? So you're kind of just getting dehydrated. All right, so electrolytes. What are we talking about? We're talking magnesium, potassium, and sodium. Okay. And this is actually, and I wish that I had like gone, farther into this as I was beginning my low carb journey, because I was experiencing dizziness and lightheadedness, and I didn't know what it was. And I was kind of worried that it was just something else. And, turns out it's probably a magnesium deficiency. So at least now I know how to fix it, and to see if it actually does fix my symptoms. So I'm actually kind of, glad that I was doing this training for you guys. Okay, so magnesium. Magnesium is needed by your body to just do a lot of its basic biological processes. And if you have a deficiency, it can interrupt a lot of things as well. Like I said, so like the lightheadedness and the dizziness, it can also make you have sleep problems. And if you're not getting enough of it, you can also just be really constipated. So it's kind of like everybody's like, oh, okay, I'm not eating carbs anymore. I'm so tired. Oh, I feel bad. Well, it's not the carbohydrates themselves that are making you feel that way, or not making you feel like that way when you are eating them. It's actually, it's what the not eating carbohydrates does to your body. So it's the loss of the magnesium, it's loss of the potassium, it's loss of the sodium, and just overall water loss, which also is another thing. Like when you first start a low carb diet, you lose a ton of weight quickly because a lot of it is water weight. But it also makes you feel a lot less bloated, makes you look a lot less bloated. And so like that's really good when you're first starting it. But do know that like if you lose like 5 pounds, 6 pounds, 7 pounds your first week, you're probably not going to continue doing that every week, because at some point when you do go into ketosis, you won't be losing as much like stored water. All right, so I hope that makes sense. All right, so back to the magnesium. There are ways for you to increase certain like food consumptions, like to eat things that have magnesium in them that will combat these flu-like symptoms. For the magnesium specifically, nuts, seeds, avocados, spinach, and spinach is actually really good. So I would suggest just go ahead and just start eating spinach every day, because it will give you a lot of vitamins and minerals to help lessen, your symptoms. So, and specifically magnesium for the spinach. Also, like, fatty fish. So what is that? Salmon, mackerel, sardines, those types of things have magnesium in them as well. But if you find that you have increased eating those, and after a couple of days you're still sort of feeling crappy, there are supplements for it. However, if you are taking a supplement, if you take too much, you could have diarrhea and like gas and bloating. So there's sort of a fine line there. So if you could get the amount of magnesium you need through these added food sources, I would suggest that. And have a supplement being sort of like a last ditch effort to make sure that you get your magnesium. All right. So, and if you're active, like if you're running or you're training for a race, or if you do weightlifting, or whatever, you're going to need more magnesium. You're going to need to have an additional requirement of magnesium, because otherwise you will, start feeling like super fatigued and stuff like that. Okay. So potassium, another electrolyte. We're used to getting it from bananas. We always, if you're having leg cramps, eat a banana. Well, there are actually other sources of foods that are better for you in terms of potassium than bananas. And they're super high in sugar. So if you're eating low carb, eating a whole banana to get your potassium is not the best idea. All right. And again, food sources are going to be your best bet. So all your leafy greens, again, spinach. Here we're talking kale, chard, collards, mustard greens. All of that is like your dark leafy vegetables, and those are going to give you added potassium. Again, avocado and nuts, fatty fish, and mushrooms. Apparently, mushrooms are super good for potassium as well, and they're super low in like calorie, and they have a high water content, as well. So, that's doubly good. And sodium. Lastly, sodium. So obviously you can just salt your food to give you a little bit of extra sodium. But make sure you use sea salt. So not regular table salt, because it has like fillers, like aluminum fillers in it. So sea salt, Himalayan salt, or just regular white sea salt you can get from the grocery store. It doesn't have to be anything super fancy. So if you can add it to your food, or if like you go for a super long run, when you come back, you can add a little bit of salt, a couple of shakes of salt to your water or whatever it is that you're drinking to replenish your fluids. You can just add a little bit of salt to that as well, and that'll help. Also, bone broth is really good. That actually has a lot of nutrients in it that would help not only the keto flu, but just your body feel better. Helps heal leaky gut, probiotic, stuff like that. So bone broth is really good. And why not eat some bacon? These are all of these food items that I've listed are all super low carb, and they're things you should be eating anyways. And so it's just a matter of getting through this flu portion where you really just might need to up some of, up your almonds, up your avocados, up your salmon consumption just in these few days, just to get you through the rough patch. Because once you get through the rough patch, like I said, if your body is going to go through these withdrawal symptoms, or super exaggerated withdrawal symptoms, by drinking water and replenishing your electrolytes that are lost, you're going to feel a lot better. And once you get through that, that's when all the magic happens. That's when your body starts feeling amazing. That's when your mind becomes clearer and less fuzzy, and you're able to have sustained energy because you're burning this fat, and that's where the real magic happens. That's when, for me, that is when I feel the best. That is when I can go for a super long run and actually bliss out. That is when it's almost like a active meditation. I can only get into that state when I'm burning fats. When I'm burning carbs for fuel, it's really hard to run. And so maybe you'll like running. Maybe by getting into this fat burning, you'll start enjoying exercise more, which is always a good thing. So, all right. So to get through keto flu, we're going to drink lots of water. We're going to eat foods that are rich in magnesium and potassium and sodium. All these things are going to help scale back or lessen your sugar withdrawal symptoms. So, all right, guys. Well, that's it for today. And drop me a message if you have any questions. Bye.